Welcome to the Playful Spirituality Podcast, a place to reconnect to spirit, to reclaim your unbridled wildness, and to bring you home to you. I'm Cara, and I'm honored to be on this adventure with you. This is a place to discover your magic and your superpowers. And yes, you definitely have them. It's designed to tap you into the unconditional love and support flowing to you, and to help you access that wild, unbridled joy that we so often lose touch with. You can expect all sorts of resources, from spiritual and practical tools and teachings to guided meditations and energy healing. We'll have some special guests and even some live readings. This show is for all of us who are humaning, to help you navigate this ride of life. If you are open to a little more support, more ease, a broader connection to the universe and to yourself, then stay tuned and find out what might be possible with an infusion of playful spirituality. Hi, sweet friends, and welcome. We are rapidly coming up to the solstice, and I had this grand idea that I was like, so much power around the solstice, winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. So much power around this. And I want to do a free workshop and bring everybody and we'll all gather. And then I realized my parents are going to be in town visiting and everybody's got holiday parties and it's kind of an intense time of year. And then I thought, I know what I want to do is bring one of my closest, most beloved people on who loves solstice and happens to have a birthday right close to it, to the podcast so we can talk about it and give you all ideas and information and get you excited. So please welcome Stephanie Burg. Stephanie, thank you for coming to play.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you and to see you and talk with you and to be here together.
When I texted you, it was like this bolt of lightning. And I was like, oh no, this is what I want to do. And my business team was waiting for the directive because I had a whole event on the calendar. And then I was like, wait, pause. And they were like, okay, we're paused. What do you want to do? And I was like, And all of a sudden I was like, Stephanie, texted you madly out of nowhere. And you were like, yeah. And all of Stephanie is not only an incredible coach, but also an herbalist who I love to learn from. And you've created this entire solstice line. So I'm ordering that. I think it just came online, so I can immediately get it. And anyway, this was so perfect and beautifully brought together. So a hat tip to the higher selves for organizing it for us.
I know when you reached out, I honestly was like, oh man, December solstice, there's so much going on. I don't know, can I fit in another thing? But then it was you and just the invitation. I was like, absolutely. Yes. Let's figure something out. How can we make it easy and fun and just come together? I love working with you and co-creating with you and just being with you.
Amen. Yes. Yes. So will you jump right in and tell everybody a little bit about, how do I want to ask it? What's the solstice and what does it mean to you? If you wanted to share it from your own excitement about it, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, wow. Okay. So the solstice is really the return of the light in the natural world, especially here for us in the Northern Hemisphere. It's sort of, we've gone through shorter days, longer nights, the depth of darkness in the natural world. And it's a turning point in the year on the wheel of the year. And I can talk a little bit more about the wheel of the year if you want to, but it's a turning point in the natural world where the light starts to return. The days will slowly become longer, the nights slowly shorter. And in pagan traditions, in folk traditions, in our ancestral traditions, it was really a time that was celebrated with ritual, with ceremony, with festivities, with feasts, all these different sort of celebrations, because life in ancestral times was really tough in the winter. And there was less food. There was more food scarcity. There was obviously not heat. So it was a time that was really revered for easier days to come, lighter days to come, more sun, more time out in the world. And so the winter solstice is really special in terms of an archetypal lens, I think, for me, for a number of reasons. Number one, my birthday is on December 20th. So it usually is kind of near the solstice. The solstice is usually 21st, 22nd, around then. And I do feel that the solstice being born around that time, it's such a, I kind of laugh at the cosmic joke because for as far as my whole life and my work and my healing journey, it's really been about returning to the light, and going through really like an initiate's path in terms of darkness and challenge and, life's offerings of growth and really always finding a way back to the light and towards healing. And it's interesting from an astrological perspective that I'm like, wow, this is perfectly perfect. In the sense that solstice is this turning point. And I feel like so much of my life has been turning points of choosing the light. And in terms of the work that I do with my clients, the solstice is really, I actually have been going through this big like creative redirection and rebrand in my work. And I've been working with this amazing friend, beloved, her name's Lexi, and she runs woven design. And when we started our ideation process, she was sort of like, well, what is I forget the actual language that she used, but basically like the time of year that really represents your work, or the sort of archetypal kind of lens in terms of the natural world as far as what your work represents. And we kind of lasered in on the solstice because there's so much of, I do a lot of deep somatic trauma resolution work with people, deeper work with psychotropic plant medicines with people. I have a long lineage of study with people in Peru, and as far as like the medicines that I carry. And so much of the work that I do is about helping people kind of move through the darkness and return to the light, not because the darkness is bad, but it's more of the unseen, the unconscious, the subconscious, the things that kind of keep us from being fully expressed, alive, fully here in our lives. And so that descent into the depths of the darkness of winter, before the light starts to return, is really like where people come to me when we start working together. It's just the solstice, I feel, is multi-layered in terms of its meaning for me and its specialness for me. And strangely enough, I love winter. Like, I know a lot of people don't like winter, but I'm an introvert. I love my cats and coziness and, being in solitude. And so winter for me has always really represented that time of incubation and magic too. I grew up dancing, and we would, be doing the Nutcracker around this time, which was like such a beautiful sort of fantasy storytelling kind of experience. So this time of year, in that descent also does really, to me, symbolize a lot of joy, a lot of celebration, a lot of rest and regeneration, as we kind of mark this end of the year, the waning of the year, and recognize, like, yes, the light is returning, but also like we can really celebrate the year that's passed, and also give ourselves a moment to rest and incubate and regenerate. So there's so many different things, but I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I think it's fun to recognize that so much of what has become our modern Christmas tradition is pieces that came from these different sort of Yule solstice celebrations from long before the lineage of Christianity, and it's all kind of woven together now as what has become this modern thing. And I think that's really fun. I think it's fun to look and see some of these places that things come from. Like, why do we bring a tree into our house that we cut down?
well, and when you look back through the tradition, it's pretty cool. So I think that for myself, I would say that I have come upon my love of winter much later in life. Um, and learned the value and importance of winter and the slowing down and the going inward and the darkness and the hibernation for me and my system, crucially important, and something that I sort of aggressively, rebelliously at this time of year, because the momentum of my life tends to be like full steam ahead so much of the time. And so this is the time of year when I'm like, it's like me leaning on that train brake and it's squealing. And I'm like, please, 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 we gotta slow. Something has to slow down. And when I was younger and growing up, it was dark and rainy and drizzly this time of year. And we'd all get these like 8-week long colds and everybody would be inside and we'd watch movies. And it didn't snow where I grew up, but it was dreary. But when I moved out to Hawaii, I noticed that, especially in the early years when I was in my mid-20s, very first in Hawaii, I didn't see this seasonal change as much as I now very much see it here, because it was just hot all the time. I just thought it's just hot here. Everything blooms all the time. It's just hot all the time. And once I was sitting with my dear friend who was my acupuncturist, and she's got her notepad and my chart out, and I'm like, just don't know what's wrong with me. All I want to do is like watch movies and cancel plans and eat like whatever, and I just have no energy. I just want to sleep. Like I feel I'm like, and I'm telling her this as if something is like so dead wrong with me. I must be sick. Something's out of balance. I can't figure it out. Like, and I'm certain nothing seems wrong, but like, it's so overwhelming, this urge to like, just sleep all the time. And she was like, And then she starts flipping in my chart and she opens up and she goes, did you think ever that maybe it was just the seasons and your body wanting to have winter? And I was like, what? And she said, well, let me just read you my notes. This was November. Let me read you my notes from last November. Just want to sleep, watching movies, cancel. It was like word for word. Don't understand what's wrong with me. I mean, she just read back to me everything that I had said. She had made bullet points the previous November. So this is my time of year where I'm like, it's all got to come down now. And I'm curious we make up our own like seasonal idea of the year in our own head, right? And my birthday is late August, but in my brain, that's the height of summer, and Christmas is the height of winter, and they're opposite poles. It's not true, but when I was a kid growing up, that's how it was. So even though this was 8 months, I thought it was 6. And so everything revolved around those two poles in my mind. And every year I noticed, even as an adult, there's this big push, like the holidays and all the things. And you're like, the magic, you get so excited, but it's also kind of chaos because there's so many things happening. And then you get done with Christmas and then you get done with the New Year's and you'd be like, yeah, now spring. And like every year, Mother Nature is like, no, bitch, 3 more months. Go to bed.
Yes. Yeah. I really feel you with that. Yeah.
And I finally learned to embrace this. I finally got it. It took me living in Colorado for a few years where I had that. And then you can't live in the delusion. Like, it's feet of snow. And you're like, spring, the light is returning. We da-da-da-da. And like, I did a good job and I wore a sweater and a jacket and boots and I shoveled and I did winter and now spring. And they're like, not even close. How about a blizzard? Try and open your front door. And so I had this one season, was it my first one there? where I had sat down and I wrote this poem, and it was this beautiful channeled poem from winter, saying, yes, my love, yes, yes, you're gonna be, I know you're blossoming and I know you're ready, but like, not quite. Just, and like the tendrils reaching out and just wrapping around and being like a little longer. Just come incubate with me a little more. The bulbs are under the ground. They're doing their thing. The flowers will come. It will happen. Because in Colorado, and I don't know if this is true in all snowy places, because I'm very foreign to that, there'd be all these like fake spring starts. You'd be like, oh, I saw something green. And like, it would start to get, it's very sunny there. So it'd start to get really sunny and the snow would start to melt. And you'd be like, that's it. And then a huge storm and everything would under 4 feet of snow again. And you're like, what? And so it was in one of those that I was watching winter just work her magic with me and just bring me back into that like womby space. And so now I soothe myself with the reminder that winter has barely begun. And when I get to the end of October and I want to climb out of my own skin because it's moving too fast now for me, because I am ready to slow down, but I've been going at that momentum. And then now we're in the very beginning of December and things, I'm ready, like tuck me in for bed. This is like cozy time. And the calendar is insane with stuff. And shall probably be through the duration of the holidays. And I am reminding myself, it's okay, Cara, it's okay. These are good things. These are like, be in the winter the best that you can through this. And then you can descend. Like, then I promise, like, we're gonna not plan to the crazy beginning of the year and you can just descend into it. And I'm so curious if your like experience of that sort of like interpersonal, especially as someone who is good at and has always loved winter, like what is it from your lens, that clock or calendar?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thanks for that question. It's really interesting because as you're speaking, I'm like, I really understand, and it's like I teach and study this stuff, meaning like how to work with the cycles of nature for deeper health and regeneration, within it's like the sort of wider web with which we orient and spiral. And at the same time, to really align with nature's cycles and rhythms requires us to do so much deconditioning. And even though I teach and study this stuff and do my best to live my life more in alignment with nature, I still have to remind myself this time of year through the winter that spring is actually the new year of the natural world. And so as our capitalistic society and all of its beauty and peril is like, really ramping up for January 1 to be the start of the new year, resolutions, and so many people really don't connect to that from a very deep, like cellular level, because we are nature and nature is still asleep on January 1. Nature is in the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm so curious, I wanted to ask you more. I'm so curious about winter in Hawaii. I'm in South Carolina where we do get some colder weather and, and once in a blue moon we get snow, but I grew up in Michigan. So it's much like Colorado in the sense that of what you described, where you can't ignore winter. And so I think growing up in our Gregorian calendar, we're all sort of trained that the new year is January 1st. Like it makes sense in terms of business quarters and the fiscal year and this man-made thing, this man-made approach to time as a linear path. When we look at the earth, I mean, the earth itself turns. It's more of a spiralic relationship to all that is, so we can observe in the natural world the shift of seasons, the waxing and waning of the moon, the ebb and flow of the tides, the rise and set of the sun, and we forget that that same cycle is so mirrored within us. As female identifying folk, our bodies wax and wane with the moon, with our menstrual cycle. Like, we're so connected to the earth. Even your experience with your acupuncturist of like, oh, this time of year, I just want to cancel everything. I want to, go to sleep. I want to watch movies. I don't want to do anything. There's a part of us that even if the mind doesn't remember, there's a part of us within our bodies, our cells, our DNA that remembers that cycle that's happening in nature all around us. And so something that I've really learned or I recognize within myself over these last few years is as I'm more attuned to these natural cycles, and I've really done a lot of work to try to align my life more so. Yes, I live in the overculture where the Gregorian calendar rules, but to the best of my ability, I've really tried to align more with the cycles of nature. I've found myself being hard on myself when I'm not ready on January 1st and when I don't have my whole year planned out and my plans and my business plans and all of this stuff. And I have to remind myself, like, wait a second, spring is actually when the energy within my body starts to respond in a different way. And so the more that I can remind myself of that and just be like, hey, everybody else is starting the year on January 1st, quarter one, really my year starts to get going like quarter three, quarter two, I mean, the third month of the year. So that's been really interesting. And with my ongoing apprenticeship in Peru to work with, the medicines, every January, I'm in isolation for the whole month of January. Like, I'm doing my work with the plants. I'm doing my own, healing work and study, and that's sort of the commitment for my apprenticeship to carry the medicines that I carry. And so there's this sort of really interesting, we've sort of created it that way, my teacher and I, where it's like being in that, truly that cocoon, that incubating period in the depth of winter. I'm sort of a force or choosing to really rest, to be in the inquiry, to be in the dreaming that the earth is also in. And it's interesting in Peru because January is the height of summer, Southern Hemisphere, January is summertime. But to know that my intention, the culture that I live in day to day is in the Northern Hemisphere. And so to really take January as a month where I'm planting seeds and doing that deep work, it's really been very powerful. And so it's also been a catalyst for setting my business up in a different way that's more cyclically aligned. And so, in my personal life, in my professional life, I really have started to know that fall is the time. And this is part of the tradition of herbalism that I study and work with as well. Autumn, fall is the time where we really are meant to start setting down some of our responsibilities so that we can prepare for that rest in winter. And so just even having the awareness, like, oh, okay, the days are starting to get shorter. How can I really take advantage of that invitation from nature to regenerate myself? I shut the computer, I stop work at, 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, or when the sun starts to set, hopefully a little bit consistently. Sometimes it can't always happen, but, to really start to make that effort to down regulate my nervous system, to shift out of working to more like being, less doing, to shift the whole vibe in my house, whether that's lighting candles when the sun starts to set, or working with consciousness shifting herbs, that teas, that are really supportive to help my body exhale, so that I'm not in that aggressive, linear, way of approaching my life where it's you're always on. Now that's what our culture really promotes. We're coffee fueled, like I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can keep the lights on all night long if I want to, so I can keep working. That it's amazing that we have, all the advantages and technologies and things that we have, but it's not really done a huge benefit to our wellness and our overall health and well-being. And so a big piece for me has been to recognize can I respond to nature in a way that's actually guiding me towards deeper regeneration from all of the perspectives, mind, body, spirit. And so, fall, that's a time where, the last several years, I'm like, okay, fall, I don't really want to travel as much. I want to be at home. So I try to orient my schedule to that. I try to, in my business, create more in-person, intimate experiences and gatherings, and really, allow myself less busyness in the evenings, so that when it comes to this time of year that when we're in winter, that I don't feel like I'm trying to operate at that high pace, that high output level. I mean, I'm not perfect, I mean, I still struggle with this too. I think I will until, I'm no longer on this earth, deconditioning the system that we've been raised in, that is so it's not against nature. That's not probably the best word, but out of alignment with what nature intended in so many ways. It's tough. And I've certainly had periods of mourning, of frustration, of completely how am I supposed to live in this society and also be in touch with the earth, but recognizing that there's a balance, and it's a practice to really learn from nature and to take nature's cues. And, so right now, for example, I usually don't like to launch anything new, at the end of the year, start things at the end of the year. This is really a time where I want to be letting go and resting and receiving more rest. And so, really kind of carrying December's medicine and magic into my January time in Peru. And then, February is really Imbolc is an ancestral celebration day that's usually February 1st, February 2nd. And that's the quickening, when the quickening is felt underneath the earth's surface. It's like life, like you said, maybe we get that first peak of spring, but it's not quite time. Maybe there's, a little bit of energy that we find returning within us. And the more I've really observed, the more I recognized, oh, wow, my creative energy starts to come more online around that time. And maybe sometimes even after that. It's not till February where I start to really feel like moving forward into the year. And so just recognizing that, it's I can't shut my business down for 3 months and be in winter, or not work during that time. We still have responsibilities. We still have the things that we have to do. But how do we work more in alignment with the medicine or the energy of each season, and find ways to bring balance to whatever that energy is. So, for example, if we're in summer where it's really hot and, it's full bloom of everything and there's a lot of busyness and extroversion, can we bring in more of the winter energies or winter herbs or winter practices to kind of balance some of that heat and activity? And the same for winter, there's so much seasonal depression that people experience, and and also sluggish digestion. There are different conditions and things that we commonly sort of experience as a byproduct of not living so closely to nature. And it's not because we're bad or wrong. It's just that there's such wisdom in the natural world. And so in the winter time, when we are more prone to maybe getting too stuck in the depth, the darkness, the heaviness, the sleepiness of winter, can we find ways to kind of balance that by bringing in warming foods or practices of movement that help to build heat in our body? So there's just so much that we can learn from nature and how to apply that, to our own internal calendar, and knowing that there's this wider cycle in the natural world, but then we all have our own very unique and internal seasons, within. So the world might be, the natural world might be in summer, but we might be in a personal winter where our identity is dissolving, or we've just gone through loss and we're, grieving. Like, so it's recognizing that the cycles that are present in nature are also present within us on the macro and the micro level, and really leaning in to that wisdom that's there so that we can really access cycles of regeneration and make it okay to rest and watch movies and cancel things if we want to. So I could talk about this stuff for hours. So I want to let you guide in whatever way.
This is pure gold. And I think people are like feeling probably a lot of relief listening to you talk, like, oh. So I want to give people some ideas for solstice celebrations, ways that we can, ritual that we can bring in to honor this sacred day, the darkest day. It's such a day of darkness, right? And then the beginning, that like opening back up. So I just had a really fun, I was in California, Northern California, visiting family, and like, it's dark. We have, Hawaii's pretty close to the equator, so we get some of the like lighter, longer days and shorter days. But it was pitch black at 5 o'clock. Like, and which was very confusing because I kept being like, oh no, Bodhi just woke up from his nap an hour ago. Somehow we got to like wear out all his energy and get him dinner. And what are we doing? And like, oh, it's only 5 o'clock. Like, so we were all laughing at how extreme it felt and how confused we all were by it. So in the vein of solstice, what are some traditions, rituals, ideas that you have for how people can create their own special practice on this day or this time of year?
Oh my gosh. Well, there are so many. I want to hear your ideas too, things that you've been kind of contemplating and thinking about, because I know you have some really sweet and fun ideas as well. I would say one of the simplest ritual practices would be to light a candle as the sun sets. It's like marking that recognition of the return of the light. And you'd have to fact check me on this, but I remember my father-in-law sharing about something called the sundowner effect, which I don't know where that came from, but basically when the sun starts to set and maybe you're at home and everything kind of gets dark, but also kind of light, it's like that in-between time, that can actually increase depression for people. Again, you'd have to fact check me on this one. I just remember him sharing this story. But it's a time when instead of sitting in that sort of half dark, half light, turning lights on in the house. For me, what I do during that time is maybe turn on lights, but not turn them up all the way. Like, so salt lamps, or we have a lamp in our kind of living room area that, you can adjust the brightness. So I'll turn it on about halfway and light candles so that there's this warmth and this like dimmer, more inviting light. So that's a really, really easy one. And particularly on the solstice, you can light a candle at sunset on the solstice to really kind of symbolically remember the return of the light. And then you could do a simple practice around, what are you wanting to release as the year is waning, and what are you wanting to call in as the light is returning? And you can, just sit and contemplate that, or you could write it down. You could release, the things that you want to, if you've written them down, by burning them in the flame of the candle. So that would be a really simple and easy one, because ritual is simply anything done with intention, and how that practice of intention can shift our consciousness. That's the ritual. That's the medicine of ritual. So that's one thing, the candles. But then also, I love at the turn of each season to bring elements from nature in. So like, right now, if I don't know, again, I don't know what, I want to hear more about winter in Hawaii, but everything's like always in bloom there. So but I'm sure there might be some winter specific things, that are present there. But here, we just have these beautiful evergreens. And so when I go on my afternoon walks, I'll just gather kind of like some cedar or something that's fallen. And I like to bring that in, and make like a little altar or sort of a tableau with, the things that I find in nature, or go on a walk with the intention of like finding some objects to create an altar with. And so that's really cool and beautiful, I think, if you can do that with the seasons. And so the solstice, you can bring in those elements of nature from the outside world. And then another one that I would say is really take advantage of the less light, like the shorter days and longer nights. And so making your bedroom a little bit more of a sanctuary, and maybe even investing in some like really nice sheets, or like an amazing eye mask, or, some kind of like, sleep mist of aromatherapy, but just things that can really kind of anchor in the practice of giving yourself rest, keeping screens out of your bedroom and things like that, but just ways that you can honor not only literally, but also symbolically that return of the light within yourself. So those are just some simple practices, but I'm also curious to hear what you would suggest too. What have you been thinking about?
I love that so much. I was imagining, and I've got a 2.5-year-old, and then we've got my parents coming into town. So I was like, how can I create a thing that everyone can participate in? And I had been thinking some kind of nature mandala,
Yes,
like a beautiful, we go out and I would probably avoid most tropical plants and just get like evergreen type things, because there's pine trees here, and we go out into the forest and pull things, which Bodhi could totally help with, and my mom does as part of her like daily life anyway, is bringing things in. So everybody would be on board with that. And then in my head, making it into some beautiful design or a big spiral or a something. But it's also a 2.5-year-old, so he may very well just like blow it up the second we get it down. We'll have to see how that goes. The other thing I had been thinking about is, in the vein of, I was like, darkness, right? So in the vein of celebrating that deep darkness, and I think in my mind about like going into the soil, into the earth, being underground almost in my mental, what's that called? Mind's eye. And I was thinking, what feels good about that? And I thought, I know that sometimes at this time of year, people are doing manifestation rituals, kind of like we would do at a new moon or a full moon. And I was like, yeah, but that's a little too young, a little too summer for me right now. So the idea that I had was that we would get pieces of paper and write out, not necessarily something that we wanted to happen or get in the upcoming year, but if we imagine the upcoming year as our path, like a beautiful trail or road, what would we want to plant along our path that would delight us through this year? So maybe you would write down like, I meet a new friend and it's so easy, like the kismet thing. Or you might write down like, I fall in love with something about myself I never thought to love before. Or like, I have a day that's full of like giggle fits, something like that. That's like all of these planting these little delight seeds for yourself. Maybe we do 12, 13 for the moons. And I thought we'd write those on little pieces of paper, and then maybe get a pot and plant some bulbs and put those into the soil. Like we're literally planting, but with the understanding that this is going to bloom at a later date. So these bulbs are going to take a while to grow.
I love that. That's so special. And oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. Something that my husband and my stepdaughter and I used to do, we kind of stopped, and I don't know why. So this is actually, we just kind of, fell off of doing it. But this is a good invitation. We would just throughout the year, if we had something that we wanted to remember, or an event that we went to, or even like a movie that we really loved, we would just write it down and then fold it up and stick it in this, I forget what maybe like a bowl or something that we had in a special place. And then at the end of the year, we would go through and read everything. We would open up each of the little pieces of paper and remember just ordinary things that we would have forgotten, like think about everything that happens in a year. And it was a really beautiful practice. And then we just burn everything in a, end of the year kind of fire. So that, I wonder if you could even adopt something like that and just actually let it be a gratitude practice for all that's happened in the year, and also letting it go, making space for more beauty and more goodness to come. It's kind of in the same vein, but I love the idea of actually planting something. So you have this like tangible way of watching your intentions grow. That's so beautiful.
And I love the idea too of burning, because fire is always such a potent, especially when we talk about the darkness. So I think it's pretty, I was imagining like maybe we could do something with my parents that would be like a gratitude practice of looking back over the year. But maybe we could also just get something and burn marshmallows for the first time, because Bodhi's never done that.
Oh
so
my gosh.
Yes. Go get myself a little fire pit, and that would be, I'm imagining whatever it is, it has to happen at night, because it's hard to get into it when it's like tropical sunshine outside.
Yeah.
So it will either have to wait for like a moment of storm passing through, or just wait for it to get dark and then turn on the Christmas lights, because I am an absolute sucker for Christmas lights, and that's the instant magic for me. We're close to time, Seth, but I want to make sure that will you just tell everybody what's in all the beautiful things you've been creating for solstice and this time of year? Because I'm very excited about getting mine, and I think other people are going to want to get their little hands on it too.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you for even asking me to share about it. I'm so proud of and excited to share these herbal medicines that I've created. So I have an online apothecary where I, have a few, it's not huge, it's just me that's, creating everything. But I have a few formulas that are standard that are available pretty much all year round. They're all small batch, limited quantities. It's just me and my two hands, really working in the folk tradition of herbalism that I work with. So the apothecary we've had that for almost 2 years now. And last year, while I was in sort of this inquiry around winter's medicines, how to really support people through this time of year that can be very challenging, not only in terms of cold or darkness, but also emotionally, and really with the intention, like creating this sort of, I was like, what can I create that can help people really fall in love with winter by having tangible ritual practices of self-care? And so I created 5 different herbal medicines and put them all together in a gift box, like a collection. And last year, we only had the gift boxes available. This year, we only have 5 of the boxes left. So they've been moving pretty quickly, but all of the individual formulas are also available. So if people wanted to just try one of them or another, like a couple of them versus all of them, that's now available. And what is inside of the box, I'll just share. It's the Winter Solstice Wellness and Rituals collection, and it contains, as I mentioned, 5 handcrafted small batch herbal medicines. We have an adaptogenic drinking chocolate. So this is like an herbal hot chocolate that is really designed to support not only helping the body adapt and recover from stress, but also to support the immune system. And it's really, who doesn't love hot chocolate? So that's been one that's a favorite for a lot of people. There is Stay Well throat spray, which is it's got elderberry and echinacea and some other really powerful immune boosting and protective herbs, and it's in a handy little spray, so you just spray it at the back of your throat. And this is so, I used this so much last year as I was traveling. I had a lot of like winter travel last year, a wedding and like in the middle of Colorado. It's like, it's just so like I was in these environments where I could have gotten really sick. And so the throat spray, you can take it with you on the go, and you can use it as like a preventative measure to help keep your immune system strong and thriving. Or if you have sort of feel a cold coming on or some acute condition where you feel like, oh, I think I might be getting something, something might be coming on, you can just use it as a preventative you can use it as a preventative measure or as something to help kind of nip an illness or a cold coming on in the bud. So that one, that's actually one of my favorites. I love it so much. It's really powerful. And there's a Winter Forest Sacred Smoke blend. And so this is an incense that I created that has a blend of cedar and frankincense and myrrh and juniper. So really the intention for that is for it to really feel like walking through a winter forest, and to really have some of those beautiful sacred resins, tree resins, and tree leaves to help to bless and purify your space. Especially for the solstice, it's really great to just go through your house and kind of smoke cleanse your whole house. For the new year, especially if you've had a lot of people in your house, like it's just and it smells so beautiful. I'll burn it around this time, or when I'm leading like a breathwork event, or other kind of in-person experience, and people are always like, oh my gosh, what is that? It smells so great. So it's very energetically purifying and cleansing. And it also helps to kill bacteria in the air, because frankincense, I think, as you probably know, is just a very, very powerful antiviral. It kills pathogens in the air. So incense blend. Then we have Winter Magic Healing Balm, which is it's a for your skin. So it's a comfrey infused oil base, and then mixed with shea butter and a little bit of beeswax, frankincense, and lavender essential oils. And that's really for helping skin that can get very irritated in the winter, or even if I'm thinking about you in Hawaii, being able to work with that when you're feeling a little bit stressed or overwhelmed, your nervous system might be feeling a lot, to have those plants and those oils, and to be able to really nourish your skin, have a ritual of like, body oiling in a sense, or placing some on the soles of your feet before you go to bed, really helps to absorb the healing powers of those nervous system restoring plants. So that's the healing balm. And then the last one, which is also like one of my favorites, is Gingerbread Bliss Adaptogenic Honey. And so that is a blend of adaptogenic herbs. Again, they help your body recover from stress and help your immune system stay really well. Medicinal mushrooms. There's, a bunch of really beautiful protective and grounding herbs. So they really help you to feel grounded and calm, mixed with gingerbread spices. So that is something that people really loved. Like some people were just like eating it out of the jar. I love to mix it into my coffee in the morning instead of, anything sweet sugar or whatever. I usually use a little stevia, but I will add the honey. And so then it's like this like kind of festive morning cup of coffee with gingerbread spices that are really aromatic, and also those spices. So, gingerbread spices, they allspice and clove and ginger, those are also very, very powerful for keeping you well. So all of these formulas, these medicines, they taste really great, and they're so powerful for keeping you well, for helping your body recover from stress, to keep your immune system nice and strong. But then also the kind of overarching theme is to engage with the medicines in a way that is really a ritual practice of self-care. So you're getting this, powerful, nutritive, medicinal kind of intake from the herbs. And then you're also having this experience and relationship with yourself by taking care of yourself through working with these herbs. And when you purchase the gift box, it also comes with a digital guide that is all about the winter solstice, working through the medicine of winter. There is a winter solstice ritual in there. There's a playlist, some journal prompts. There's an end of the year ritual for entering into the new year. And there is an elixir recipe in there for like a boosted kind of medicinal hot chocolate. And then there are a bunch of wellness tips in there for winter too. So it's a really beautiful digital guide that's also included with the that it's available separately, but then it's also included when you buy the full collection. You get that as a little bonus to help you work with everything.
Amazing. I'm so excited. I might even order myself a second one of the throat spray because toddler life is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
I will just walk around with it.
I keep one in my car.
That's genius.
Yes.
Oh, Stephanie, this was perfect. I think people are going to love it. My heart and my cup feel very full. Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's so beautiful to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It felt good to be in winter together for this little bit.
Yeah.
So everybody watching, make sure that you go to the show notes, which is where we'll put Stephanie's website and how to get to her apothecary and find her and follow her and all the good things. All right. Love you, Penny. Love all of you. Thank you for being here.
Deep bow of gratitude to you, my friends, for showing up for yourself and taking the time for this experience. If you enjoyed this, and I hope you did, it would mean so much to me if you would write a positive review. And please share this with your friends who you think might enjoy it. My team has set up some free presents for you, including a guided meditation, an energy healing, and a sneak peek into one of my programs. So go to caraviana.com to download those. And with the deepest love, cheers to all that you are.